happy we have this live audience here because these are the kind of shows where I'm telling you, I've done crime series and true crime for many, many years. These types of shows are compelling, but we need each other to hold each other because it is so stunning that these things really happen in life. Today, we have a broadcast exclusive with the survivors of two of the biggest kidnapping cases in recent memory. And they are truly survivors. Elizabeth Smart and Kara Robinson Chamberlain, both, as you heard, teenagers at the time they were taken. I followed their cases. I covered their cases as a journalist. And what I was so inspired to learn recently is that they have formed a very unique bond, and their stories have been shared, of course, with so many others. But Kara said something that stuck out to me, and listen to this, Tam Bam. She said, when someone else is telling your story, it can be difficult because it can be done in a way that almost re-victimizes you. And that's why she is speaking out in her own words with Elizabeth Smart today. It was the end of June, a hot summer day. 15-year-old Kara Robinson was watering plants in her friend's front yard when a man asked her if her parents were home. Kara had no idea the stranger was Richard Ivanitz, a serial killer who'd already abducted and murdered at least 3 other girls. First appearing friendly, Kara says the stranger suddenly put a gun to her neck, kidnapping her. Throughout her 18-hour captivity, Kara memorized as many details as possible while plotting her daring escape. And when Ivanitz fell asleep, Kara broke free and then led police back to his apartment. But by the time police arrived, Ivanitz had fled. He shot himself days later during a police chase. Kara's story is now a new Lifetime movie called The Girl Who Escaped, the Kara Robinson story. It is executive produced by Elizabeth Smart. Here's a clip.
Now, Kara, there are rules. And when you break the rules, there are consequences.
Escape.
Do everything that I tell you to do.
Survive.
He's likely killed at least 3 girls.
Any sign of him?
Wait. Escape. Survive. Escape.
Please welcome in a broadcast, I'm so sorry. Please welcome in a broadcast exclusive, Elizabeth Smart and Kara Robinson Chamberlain. Thank you both for being here. I'm telling you, it didn't occur to me that you would be sitting here while we're all watching, not just the reenactment, but the reliving in the news feed. How are you? I mean, I'm here crying. You lived it and survived it.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. It's very surreal, but the reality is that I have shared my story publicly for many years. So this is just continuing to do that in a different way.
The night before, even though you have shared it publicly, there's trauma here. I cannot imagine that there isn't. What we've read and what we know through court records, through your both retelling of your stories, but now here with you the night before an interview like this. What is that night like? What was last night like preparing for it?
So I went to dinner, and I am very big into self-care, which I believe you are too, right? And so did, a sheet mask and just relax and tried to just kind of exist where I am a little bit.
Can I just love that you just said you had a mask, relaxing with a mask to reset, because that speaks to where you are and owning your life. That quote that I read from you, you said, people want to tell your story and sometimes it's like re-victimizing, but when you get to tell it, it's a different feeling, and now you're getting to tell it.
Yes, it is a totally different feeling, and far too often we hear these stories being told by media or by a documentary or what have you, and not only is it not done with the victim's participation, but often not even with their consent. And so it's something that Elizabeth and I have both been very intentional about how we share our stories and doing it in a way that gives us the power
Elizabeth, and I think people don't talk enough about that. You know, as I said, I've done true crime for a long, long time, and it is not often spoken about that the victims sometimes are not asked, they're not consulted, they have no role, and then they turn on the television, and there's their life story on TV for someone else to profit and someone else to interpret. And so you, as the executive producer of Kara's story, and based on what you've experienced, no one could do it better. No one could be at her side better than you.
Well, I wouldn't want to do it if Kara wasn't completely happy with it. I mean, like, if she was unhappy with it, then there's just no way I would feel comfortable going out and being like, this is a great show, knowing that I hurt her or I exploited her in some way. And so any project that I embark on, and especially in this kind of realm, like, I need whoever the story is about to be completely happy with it. I need them to feel like they have power over their story.
You know, and I think people would wonder, because this is your first interview together, first broadcast interview, people would wonder, and I think maybe I have, to be honest with you, after you survived your ordeal, after you were found and rescued and reunited with your family, why get involved with crime stories? Why? I mean, even though it's to help survivors, some would have said, I want to go as far away. I don't want to talk about my past, and I don't want to talk about anybody else's that's similar to mine. Why did you run into the situation versus away?
I mean, I don't think I did actually run into it. It's 20 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like these crimes of kidnapping and sexual exploitation, they make you feel so alone, so lost, like nobody else could ever understand what you went through. And so as the years have gone on and I've met Kara and I've met other survivors like Kara, I've come to realize that actually, no, our stories share more in common than they do differences, and they've experienced the same feelings that I've experienced. And other survivors need to know that. They need to know they're not alone and that they shouldn't feel ashamed or guilty of what's happened to them. They should feel like they're in a safe, I don't want to say safe world, but safer world where they can come out and talk about what happened without feeling like they need to be quiet or without feeling like they need to be ashamed or embarrassed of what's happened to them.